So I wanted to give this a little bit of time to if we get just a little bit more information. As you know, well, some of you may or may not know, but Carlos Maza, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, it's been reported that he's been fired or he left Vox. And here's an article, for example. This one is clearly slanted, but what's important is what's being more so reported. They haven't been able to get in touch with him. He's taken Vox and the fact that he works for Vox off of his Twitter account. He's also, where is it at? Yeah, he said that he posted on his Twitter. So this is 11, so about 4 days ago. Hello from the shakiest few weeks of my life. So what is you're seeing reported is that he's left or he's been fired. And some sort of sources are saying that he's negotiating a severance package. So I don't know what's really going on, but I do want to talk about, I got to talk about it. For those that don't understand who this guy is, this was the guy who arguably single-handedly is responsible for a big change in YouTube and their policy, which happened after some confrontation that he had more so with Steven Crowder. And he put a lot of people in the crosshairs because of that. And a lot of pages were demonetized. Out of all of that, a lot of pages were taken down, and so forth. And he's arguably responsible for it. And it's the same, they're profiting off of this, profiting off of that, homophobia, hate speech, all of that sort of nonsense and buzzwords is what he's sort of been discussing. And normally, so assuming that he got fired, because maybe Vox woke up and smelled, coffee, if you will, and they realized that, all right, this guy is a problem because a lot of people have taken it out on the organization that he works for in Vox, or the publication or whatever you want to fucking call it, which isn't that good in the first place, which isn't good at all in the first place, but maybe they did, or maybe something else. I don't know why, but it's almost aligning as if out of whatever happened, it's maybe too much coming from it, and he left or he got fired. Now, assuming he got fired, generally speaking, I would feel sorry for somebody that got fired. The staunch capitalist that I am, I understand free markets. People are going to get jobs, lose jobs. Well, we don't have quite a free market, unfortunately. But I would normally still feel sorry for somebody if they got fired. But that's generally if they were fired because of something that wasn't their own doing, right? And they weren't, just these bad people overall, or just they weren't people that did something worth, getting fired. I would feel sorry for those people because they, at the end of the day, have livelihoods. The reason why I don't feel sorry for this asshat is because he caught a lot of people in the crossfire in his little plex with Steven Crowder and others like him. And their livelihoods were at stake because they were losing sort of these monetization efforts if they were getting money through YouTube. Now, I've always said, if you're putting all of your stake in YouTube, that's a great mistake because that shit can be taken from you just like that. You need to be building your own platforms, setting up different, mediums. But at the end of the day, yes, you can argue. It's not an argument. It's legitimate because I know people that have had a source of income stripped from you, if you will, because YouTube is reacting because of this asshat, right? So, yes, YouTube should be held responsible in that regards too. He set some of that off. So that's why I don't feel sorry for the guy. You put a bunch of people in the crosshairs talking all of this shit, being overly dramatic, and then you lose your job. Nobody gives a shit. I don't want to say nobody. Of course, there's going to be people that care about this guy. I'm sure there's more than enough people that are doing that. But certainly the individuals who realize that, okay, you've essentially jeopardized everything that they have going on YouTube, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. Some people are laughing at you. I'm not gonna even laugh at you. I'm just gonna say that I don't think you're owed any sort of sympathy. And I would think generally most people are owed, I don't want to say owed sympathy, but me personally, I'm a lot more sympathetic to people losing their jobs, and I understand it because that's a situation that is an unfortunate situation and sometimes out of the person's control. They did everything they could. They were rock stars, but it's a job. So things happen, markets change. You wouldn't make, it's not bringing in the money that it was. People had to get laid off. I certainly understand that. That's just how the, markets work, right? So sometimes it's not in their control. But considering all the shit that he did, if he got fired out of all of that, and out of more so this chain reaction, or more so domino effect, out of him being a complete asshole, so be it. It is what it is. Maybe he'll learn from that, and maybe he won't. I doubt that he will, or anything like that. But there's going to be people mocking him, shaming him, laughing at him, and just like the criticisms that he got, he brought that upon himself. From all of the noise that he talked, all of the people that, again, he caught in the crossfire by going on this tangent or guy went on a complete tirade, man. This guy was out of control for a little bit, going off on YouTube and the fact that YouTube caved. This is why I'm saying it's not just Carlos Maza, YouTube. The fact that they caved to this bullshit, they should be called out for it as well. Ultimately, it's their decision to make. They could have just told him to fuck off. And in some instances, they did, because Crowder didn't get completely, I think he got demonetized, if I'm not mistaken. But they were saying, like, if he took something off, they would have, put it back. So I think monetization is back on his channel. So there was ways around that. But in the same respects, you look at all the people that did get demonetized, YouTube channel did get taken down. They had nothing to do with this. Talk about like Fort Fisher and News to Share, who are not extremists or anything like that, but they unfortunately, out of this policy change, got their channel demonetized. And there was so many other individuals. So when you take that in consideration, and good people, or more so people that acted in good faith and weren't necessarily being violent, they weren't being violent, they weren't being aggressive, they weren't advocating violence or anything like that, or racism or anything, but they unfortunately were demonetized out of a policy change that was caused due to this domino effect that popped off by way of Carlos Maza. So Carlos Maza losing his fucking job, a lot of people are gonna laugh. It is what it is, but I don't feel sorry for this motherfucker by any means.